Good afternoon and welcome to Medellin for the weekly stock report for the week of April the 30th. The main news of the week was safer today. The central bank lowered rates from 7 to 6%, largely as expected. The commentary that followed up, they basically expect CPI to now be around 5% this year, so that will be right in the middle of their range, which is great. They will be lowering their growth expectations over the next few weeks. It looks like they're going to move that down close to zero. In the markets this week, we had, as per the rest of the region, Monday was weak across all products, all due to the swine flu. During the rest of the week, we saw gentle recovery. On the cold cap, we saw 1.85% increase on the week. Interestingly, we saw volumes up to $45 million on average, so that was good. And the other thing that's happening in volumes, which is very healthy for the market, is that Ecopetrol, which last year was dominating over 50% of the volume, is now 20 to 30% of the volume maximum. So that's a healthy sign of the market broadening out. Test bonds went above 9% on Monday, but ended the week at 8.98%, so they gently moved up during the week. The peso really didn't do too much. It was weak on Monday and basically recovered for the rest of the week. The only other macro data was the unemployment number for March, which was 12.9%. That was up from 12.2% at the same time last year. Again, no great surprises bearing in mind the other macro data we've had over the last year. On the political side, not too much happening. The truck strike continues. There were 13 hours of talks on Monday. Nothing came of it, and Uribe disappeared to Italy and Spain for the rest of the week, so really we weren't expecting too much. Over in Italy and Spain, Uribe's had audiences with the Pope, he's met with the Prime Ministers, so it's been a good political exercise for him, I guess, while leading up to the election, if he wants to be elected. We even had the Spanish Chamber of Commerce wholeheartedly supporting him to run again. Domestically in politics, we've had a continuation of the referendum, no referendum, 2010, 2014 debate with the various Uribe parties giving their opinion. They all seem to broadly support what he's trying to do, but without any doubt hedging their bets in case either he doesn't want to run, or in the end the Constitutional Court decides he can't run, or indeed the electorate decide they don't want him to run. So that's what's happening domestically. Yesterday we had an incident whereby 8 soldiers were killed very close to the Venezuelan border. Reportedly, the FARC guerrillas then disappeared back over the Venezuelan border. Uribe has called on Chavez to help him track these guys down. And this is against the backdrop of Uribe consistently over the last few years claiming that Ecuador and Venezuela harbor terrorists, they help the FARC. So this is effectively Uribe calling out Chavez and saying, okay, here's your opportunity to prove to us that you don't support these guys. It's going to be a situation to watch for the next week. There's been no response from Caracas as yet. On the corporate side, it's been a results week, pure and simple. Going through them in brief, ESA reported good numbers, solid indeed, and ahead of our expectations. They also held a results presentation, which was fairly refreshing. They had a lot more information regarding strategy and products than we've become accustomed to. Hopefully they've turned a new leaf on this respect. ESA Hen's results were basically so good, we're now having to put them under review, so that's a good sign for them. Chocolates were hit by the peso. They have an awful lot of raw material cost in dollars. The peso during the first quarter was obviously a lot weaker year on year, so that hit them. Fabricato, we haven't quite made out, we don't know what to make of Fabricato just yet. As far as we knew, January and February went well, but they reported poor numbers for the quarter. This may or may not have a tie-in with the fact that the Venezuelans owe something like $50 million to the textile sector. They promised to send it, or Chavez has promised that money to come back. We're waiting. We have a meeting with Fabricato on Monday, and we'll await the truth of the matter. Enca reported a 31% drop in sales, but remarkably numbers were better because costs dropped even further. Tablimat reported some poor numbers. Mineros reported ahead of expectations. Cementos Argos had a results presentation to follow up on last week's numbers. Went off pretty much without event. The event for Argos in the week was the issue of 640 billion pesos in bonds, 1.46 times oversubscribed, without doubt a success. That's really it. The only other corporate name that came up during the week was Starbucks, of all names. Last year we had the Colombian Coffee Federation discussing buying a stake in Starbucks alongside the Brazilians. The subject's come up again. Again, they're discussing maybe talking to Brazilians, maybe trying to buy a stake in Starbucks. Bearing in mind the condition of Starbucks' results this week, maybe they'll want to reconsider. That really is about it from Medellin. As I say, it's a 4-day week. We are closed tomorrow, so if anybody calls, there'll be no one here. Meantime, have a very, very good weekend from Medellin.